Rev up your engines! Today I'm going to talk about how to prevent rust on your car. Now, to prevent rust, first you have to understand what rust is. Rust is electrochemical oxidation. And in the case of cars, the steel, when it comes in contact with oxygen in the atmosphere, water vapor in the atmosphere, and other things like salt that they put on the road and up north in the winter, it starts an electrochemical reaction that will eat up the steel in your car. It actually creates a weak type of battery acid that eats stuff up. It's an electrochemical reaction. It uses electricity and chemistry to eat up the metal. Now, cars, of course, are painted to prevent the steel from getting its electrochemical reaction. Now, when my grandfather was young, Model T Fords, they used lacquer-based stuff. They paint it and buff it and paint it and buff it and have layers and layers of paint that they buffed to make it look good. But the basis of modern car painting is much different. The metal has a primer type coat on it, then it has base coat, which is the color, then it has a clear coat to protect that. All those layers protect the bare metal. And as long as those layers of protections are still there, your car won't rust. And when it comes to solid parts, the frame of the car and cross members and stuff, these are generally electroplated when the vehicle is built. The metal is the negative charge, and the paint is the positive charge. And when the body of the car goes into the tank, it coats it all with a zinc-based primer. Now, zinc is used because it has a slow corrosion rate, and it can be used sacrificially. So instead of eating up your car, it can eat up some of the zinc. And as you can see, the process works. This is a 1994 Toyota Celica. Look, there's no rust even on the wheel arches here. The process keeps it from rusting. And I know people are going to say, Scotty, hey, you live in Texas, cars don't rust here. Well, actually, it's very humid here. And if they start to rust, they rust really bad. And if you live on the beach, they would, because it's salt water. But my mother still lives near Buffalo, the heart of the Rust Belt, and her 20-year-old Toyota Corolla doesn't have any rust on it. The process works as long as you keep the coatings from being rubbed off or cracked off, or if you get in a wreck, they're not resealed. And as long as the process was done correctly. For instance, there were some 1990s Toyota Tacoma pickup trucks that they didn't coat the frames correctly, and a lot of them rotted away, and Toyota had to replace a whole bunch of frames for free because of that. So you have to realize that this process of covering the steel is just a cover. It's not like hot zinc galvanization where you dip it when it's hot in hot melted zinc, and then it becomes part of it, and if it gets scratched, it doesn't matter. This stuff, if it gets scratched or knocked off, it will start to corrode inside. So your whole thing is to keep the coating intact, and here's how you do it. You're supposed to wax your car 4 times a year, once each season. That keeps the clear coat supple so that it won't crack, and then water and stuff can get inside. I like this new finish. Technically, it's not a wax, it's a polish, but it does the same thing. It protects the paint from cracking. Because you have to realize, it's metal. It expands and contracts in the sun. The paint has to expand and contract too. If it gets all hard and dried out, it won't, and then you'll see all that caked up paint where it's flaking off on your car. And here's a tip, if you ever do get a scratch on your car, it's a good idea to just have a little clear coat and some masking tape. So if you do get a big scratch or a bump, you can at least tape the area up and spray it with some clear coat, and that will seal it so it won't rust. Granted, to do a perfect job, you'd have to sand it down to the bare metal, then put some primer on, then put the base coat color on, and then put clear coat. But at least putting a clear coat over anything that's been hit, it's going to seal it in, as long as you do it fast enough before it starts rusting. But let's say you got a real rust bucket that's already started rusting. These rust preventative paints actually work quite well. I use this rust bullet protective coating on the frame of my Celica because the frame's on the bottom. Rocks hit it. All kinds of things hit it. And when the paint on the bottom starts chipping off, you want to seal it with something like this so rust doesn't start and eat up your frame. Especially if you guys living up north in the Rust Belt. Hey, all that salt water that comes on when you put salt on the road and mixes with the slush, that gets all over it. Of course, you want to try to rinse it off whenever you can. But you want to have the metal that it gets on sealed before anything else will happen. I know a lot of guys up north before winter. They'll jack up their car or truck, they'll look under it, And if they see that there's a bunch of rust starting, they'll just surface rub a lot of it off. This can be applied on somewhat rusty metal. And then they can spray this on, roll it on anywhere you want, and then it'll protect it for the winter. Now, you don't have to worry about salt on the roads in the winter here in Houston, maybe once every 30 years when it does freeze. But hey, I know guys down in Galveston that live on the beach, and they use this stuff on their frames because they're driving around in a saltwater atmosphere right on the Gulf of Mexico, and it keeps them from rotting away, because I've seen a bunch of them that didn't, and they just rotted like mad within 5 or 6 years. Because let's face it, big rocks and stuff generally aren't flying on the paint of your car, but on the bottom of the car, there's all kinds of stuff on the road that's being thrown up and whacking against them. Since these anti-rust coatings can be sprayed on, you can put them in a spray gun, hey, it's not a big job. You don't care about the bottom of the car, what it looks like. You don't have to be a pro to actually paint the car to make it look shiny on the top. This is the bottom. You don't care, you just want the coating on there so it won't rust. Because ultimately, the purpose of stopping rust is to prevent electrochemical oxidation on the bare metal. As long as that metal's got a good solid coating on it, it will not rust. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.